back on the Morning Brew with friends, and I guess Gary and I did not get the blue suit memo from you guys. But
that's the trend nowadays, you know.
But this is Jeff Apodaca and Dan Dietz, and Dan is the new project manager of Innovate ABQ, and Jeff, you are on the board of directors for Innovate.
Correct.
And Innovate is the very cool. It's going to be the very cool thing. It's not quite there yet, right? They still have to tear down some stuff and build some stuff and go build things.
And remodel some
things. But the old church there on the corner of Broadway and Central is going to be this big project. It's a partnership between, see if I can get all the partners right. I know New Center Credit Union's involved, the City of Albuquerque's involved, Bernalillo County's involved, and UNM. Am I missing anyone?
There was an EDA grant
and
from
an
the
EDA
feds,
grant from the feds,
right,
yes.
that helped us purchase the property.
Right.
And you know, when Dr. Frank a couple years ago led a delegation to Florida to show them something that looks like it's working in Florida very well.
In their innovation district.
Their innovation is called Innovation Square. And what we like to do in New Mexico, right, is we steal shamelessly and then adapt to our own culture and resources. And that's what's been done here. And we're thrilled with how fast it's gone. And Jeff is one of the board members in charge of communications. And this is a real working board with really the leaders of New Mexico on it. And we're so blessed to have this board in place to shepherd this project. And so Jeff, I'm sure you're thrilled with the progress we've made.
Yeah,
so far.
it's been, as Gary said, you know, the board as is, we now have 13 board members. We've been together now for, gosh, a year, just a little bit over a year, maybe a year and a half, and have accelerated it completely. We've cut a deal with Signet, which I think you've seen in the news. Hopefully we're breaking ground by July 1st. Phase 1 will be open by the fall of 17. And we've, as Gary said, we have put executive committee groups together, or committee groups together, to really kind of quarterback, you know, capital, innovation, development, looking for a project manager to help us out.
I guess Dan was the first big hire there, right?
He was. And so we've been kind of going so crazy, but literally I think from 0 to 10, we've done it in a very short amount of time. And I think you're going to see, once we break ground, we are talking to multiple partners, and I think you're going to start seeing a lot of activity down there on Broadway and Central, really in the next year to 2 years. And by the fall of 17, not only will some of the university elements move down, but you know, another successful that we don't talk about is part of the same process is UNM has started Innovate Academy. We anticipated
already classes are there.
We've anticipated 75 kids this year, and I think we got 180 kids. 280.
That's amazing.
And so it's really Rob's done a great job.
We had Rob on the show, and he's telling us a lot about the program.
Yeah,
it sounds interesting. It makes me wish I was back in college again.
One of the few things.
I can go back. I can
always learn more.
Right?
But I think there's so many moving pieces right now and things that we've moved forward, and I think more announcements to come relatively in the future, that as a board member, you know, Terry from Nacenda and all of us really felt like we needed somebody to come in and help us quarterback everything.
And that's
Dan's
job.
That's Danny, and Danny's been with us for what, about 3 weeks now?
It's been a month now.
So what have you done so far?
Have you had a chance to really get your, you know, wrap your head around everything that is there? Because the project it really is a large project that you have to manage, because it's managing multiple partners, some money, some classes, the epicenter's right there where Gary holds events all the time, plus the architectural stuff. I mean, there's a lot of these things.
There's a lot of moving parts, and I think that's part of what prompted this. Is it's an all-volunteer board, and really we just need somebody to be on the ground, answering the phone calls, being there to show the building when necessary, and it's really my role to be on the ground carrying out the board's vision, and that's what I've been doing for the past 4 weeks, and there's a lot going on. Dude.
Yeah. So you just got out of law school. Like, why did you say like I'm going to just get out of law school, take the bar, and then go into project management? What was it about this that made you want to do it?
It's kind of funny. We asked them the same thing in the interview process.
No, you know, I did my JD MBA, so I wasn't just a law school kid. But I think I've been interested in downtown. I'm a resident downtown. I love it down there. I love the activity that's happening, and really I want to bring economic development to downtown Albuquerque. And that was part of what originally initiated my interest and brought me to work for the city, working on similar projects in downtown. And so I think after finished a couple projects at the city, it was a natural transition to try and reach out and help this, you know, really ambitious project called Innovate.
No doubt. Well, how far are we? I mean, is this the kind of thing that I think a lot of people, we've been hearing about it now for 2-3 years, and I think a lot of people are really eager to see this thing get done, right? But I know that there has to be, you have to get money. The architectural drawings were just announced, what, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, right? The architectural
Well, you know, and
partners.
it's funny because, you know, and growing up here in New Mexico, you know, I will tell you, in some of the boards and some of the projects I've worked on in my 33 years in being in the media industry, as you know. You know, when you look at it, President Frank, I think it was 2.5 years ago, Gary, we talked about 2.5 years ago, it was his vision, his idea, brought the players together. Right. So with putting this project together within 2.5 years, and then really the new board was put together really January, February of 15.
Right,
so
just
our new board like
14,
15 months ago. And really quickly we kind of broke up into committees.
Right.
A lot of us overlap. So I think we've done an unbelievable pace and job, and there's been some great support not only from the business sector, the private sector,
public sector.
The public sector, whether it's UNM, the city, the county, everybody knows how important this is, the feds and the state. And so we've moved relatively quickly.
You guys had to be a real working board, though. This wasn't one of those boards where you just like, yeah, I get to sit on a board and hang out and have a couple of meetings and some coffees. You guys actually had to sit there and like really plow through.
No, I have become very good friends with some of the board members because we text, email, talk probably almost every day. We definitely have conversations at least once or twice a week. We at least meet once or twice a month. But a lot of us are from the private sector, and we have done startups. We have worked for big companies, small companies, done startups. So we really, it's amazing how well we gel and how we think. And I think that was one of the key things when we met Danny and he interviewed for the job is I think his vision and a lot of the things that we're doing kind of fits our vision. Right. And that's kind of what we looked for. So yeah, so I think people sometimes can get a little impatient, but I think they forget this idea came from President Frank 2.5 years ago. We are now about to break ground. The epicenter's been up and running actually for almost a year. Almost a year. So there's already activity there. People just maybe not see it as much. But I think come July, you'll start seeing phase 1 starting getting built out.
Cranes.
Yeah, you'll start seeing cranes. Exactly. We always talk about cranes. We are talking to 3 or 4 other partners to take into the West Wing, to take the sanctuary, because we're going to save the church and the sanctuary and meet. And our goal is like a makerspace, kind of a meeting place. And we're talking to vendors about that and those kind of relationships. So, and keep in mind, I want to just tell everybody, you know, this is a 3 to 5 year project to get everything up and running. So phase 1 will start in January. The goal is to have it by fall of 17. But there are already events and activity going on, maybe just not in the space because there's really no space right now as we move forward.
Right. So Dan, what's the next big thing on your end now as the project manager there? What's the first big project you got to manage?
Sure. Well, wrapping up this UNM, the Signet building, their partnership building is the first big project on the list. There are a couple more big ones in the pipeline, so stay tuned. But definitely moving forward with what the board's already done for 1.5 years has been a large priority for me. And then working on fielding new development, whether it's contacts from new partners, exploring different developers for different parts of the project. So it's definitely a lot of networking, but also, you know, crossing T's and dotting I's to get these contracts ready and the cranes moving on the site.
Dan, let me tell you one last thing is, you know, people are starting to see activity in the board and the private sector and the city and everybody. We're out there talking to a lot of people. What you don't hear about, what we don't talk about too much is there are a lot of local third party, whether it's investment groups, partnership groups, they're now coming to us, talking to us, how can they be involved? So even if anybody's out there watching, you know, whether it's foundations, grants, private sector, partnerships, we're having many conversations because people do realize Innovate ABQ, it's a great thing for the city, for the state. Will create a lot of jobs, a lot of high-paying jobs in the future to come, and that's the goal. Right. So we really appreciate the community and everybody really coming around us and supporting us. And obviously now we have Danny here who will quarterback everything through the board. But we're moving forward relatively quickly.
What's the next big thing at Epicenter, guys?
So we're transitioning the epicenter. Of course, the role of the city is to be a catalyst, never a controller. So we want to get things into the community, right? And so now that's going to happen. As of July 1st, it'll go to the Innovate ABQ board, managed by Danny, and we're looking forward to that. We're in transition right now, working really well together.
Excellent. We'll be back in a couple of seconds to Morning Brew with friends, and see you guys at the end of the show, right?
I'll stick around.
Danny,
All
stay
right,
around.
great. Back in a couple of seconds to Morning Brew.